Rewind and Digress is a FakeShem.net podcast proudly presented by Viewlorium. Alternative movies, alternative streaming, totally free at viewlorium.com.
Welcome to Rewind and Digress, where we hit pause on the now and track back to one of our favourite films, trap it, torture it, take a peek below at what came before it, and decide whether it's finger-licking good. I'm Jarrett, and I'm with Glenn and Sean, and we're FakeShem.net. On this episode, we're rewinding back to 2009 for writer-director Sean Byrne's modern horror classic, The Loved Ones. Now, gentlemen, I'm going to go around. I'll go with you first, Glenn. When was the first time you saw The Loved Ones?
I missed it at the cinemas. It was simply home entertainment release.
That's fair enough. It was a pretty brief theatrical run and a long wait too.
There was a lot of fanfare about this one before I got to it, so I went to it when the buzz was all around.
Right,
it's a phenomenal film. I think it's one of the greatest Australian films of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's it. Like not just Australian genre films, but Australian films.
I agree. Yep, totally.
Completely. Now, Sean,
first time I saw it, really wasn't that long ago.
Right?
Maybe
Tuesday.
Yeah, probably Tuesday. yeah. No, I'd seen it once before. It was about a year ago, maybe a year and a half. It was really recent, which is a bizarre thing because the guy I used to get we used to get to shoot our films. A guy called Sham, who's a legend. Sean, the director of The Loved Ones, is his best mate.
All right.
Yeah.
Right.
So when we were sort of bumming around and making commercials and all that, then The Loved Ones had posters around. He was always like, "Yeah, man, like I've seen it. Yeah, like Sean's wicked. Sean's a legend. Like this film's great." And it just never appealed to me. And I finally caught up with it. I picked it up at Cashies for like $2 or something. I thought I'll give it a spin. And then, so I saw it way down the line. About a year and a half ago.
And what was your feeling when you first watched it?
It was overrated.
Well, I guess, you saw it a number of years after it came out. There was a fair bit of hype for the film when it came out.
Yeah.
I mean, now I don't think...
It was a festival, baby. Like, it was doing... Like, didn't it...
It did? Yeah.
Was it, like, opening or closing night at TIFF or something
Yeah,
like
well,
that?
it was... it had its world premiere at MIFF where I saw it, but then it went on to play, TIFF as one of the Midnight Madness films. And actually, I think it picked up an award there, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with the buzz aside, like, it holds up. It's like... It's
regardless.
a phenomenal
No,
film.
regardless.
I'm gonna debunk everything you said. I just think it is absolutely fucking incredible.
Like, feel free. What I feel like what Sean Byrne did was, I feel like he pulled a bit of a Tarantino, right? In that, if you think about Reservoir Dogs is just the last 20 minutes of Ringo Lam's City on Fire, right? And he's just kind of pulled it out to make a 90-minute feature. And I feel Sean Byrne has done the same thing, where he's just taken the last 15 minutes of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and just pulled it out to make this feature. And it's not that it's a bad film, right? Because it's not, right? It's fine. Like it's perfectly passable. It looks really handsome. Like the sound design particularly is really clever. The soundtrack's great. It's got great local bands, British indie and all that kind of stuff. But I just feel like I've seen it before.
Yeah, but you love Reservoir Dogs, yeah?
Yeah, but I think Reservoir Dogs is overrated. I think Tarantino in general is overrated for that exact exact reason. Is everything he's done
pastiche.
We've seen it done 1,000 times before.
I agree with the Tarantino statement. Not so much about Reservoir Dogs. Yes, it's a pastiche, but I still think it's an incredible debut. Yeah, I mean, we'll never see his real debut. That whatever.
My Best Friend's Wedding.
Yeah, that
whatever.
one. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think Reservoir Dogs stands up. I think that and Jackie Brown are the only two Tarantino films I can kind of return to watch, and probably more so Jackie Brown.
Yeah, I agree.
For me, it's the first three that I can return to.
Yeah.
I can't do Pulp Fiction anymore.
Can't you? Okay.
It's too hard.
Seen it to death.
But look, we've digressed.
There lies
super
our first
early
digression.
On.
Hey,
I'm just going to mention the first time I saw the film. Well, before I saw the film, my old housemate Tommy McSweeney, who now lives in Sydney, is a professional editor. But back in the day when he was getting into doing work on films, he was a runner, and he was the runner on The Loved Ones. And so he was telling me about this film as it was being made, and he was like, "Oh man, you're not going to believe it. it's like one of his favorite films was like Aliens, and he will watch it religiously. And he actually was in the opinion of that Alien vs Predator was a pretty good film. No, it wasn't. I still haven't seen Alien vs Predator 2 Requiem. I will get there. But he just kept going on about it. It's like, oh, look, I don't know, Aussie horror hasn't been good for a while. And the way he was sort of describing it, I was like, oh, I don't know about this at all. And then, I caught it at MIF because it played MIF as its, I think, MIF Premiere Fund had, investment in the film. So I saw the world premiere at MIF and I was floored. I just couldn't believe this film had come out of Australia, like especially after, had Wolf Creek come out maybe a year before?
Possibly, and there's similarities there.
No, it was considerably. I think Wolf Creek came out
2006,
2005, 2006.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And
so it was about 3 or 4 years
that
beforehand.
That had been the kind of caliber of horror we'd done, which at the time I thought was like, again, it was just a reworking of things we'd seen overseas with a slightly, with an Australian identity about it, but it wasn't terribly original.
Yeah.
And the mass hysteria of people really loving it. Oh
yeah.
my God, But this film I thought was completely worthy of it. Everyone that came out of it was just.
And I think too, it's intentionally pastiche. Like you were saying how it's it's the last 20 minutes of Chainsaw Massacre, but it's also 16 Candles. Like it's John Hughes infused.
Yeah, they're the things that you rarely see injected into horror films.
Yeah.
Maybe more so now since like with films like The Babysitter and things like that. But in 2009, I wasn't really used to seeing that.
Good comparison there too.
Where does it? I see. Maybe I'm just. Maybe it's just completely bypassed me. Where does this? Everybody keeps saying it's like John Hughes meets Wolf Creek, but I don't understand why. Like I was
color palette. Look at the
color palette. It's got the teenage angst and the soundtrack driven sort of design to it.
I just don't see it.
Have you seen John Hughes' Reach the Rock?
No.
It's the loved ones without the horror.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. No, I don't know. And the more you think about it, like the more it kind of falls apart as well. Like what's the lead actress? What's her name?
Lively. Robin Lively.
Yeah.
McLevy.
McLevy.
Is it McLevy?
Yeah, McLevy.
Okay, cool.
Is that I've seen her beyond this. She popped up. She was in Hell on Wheels.
She was,
and she was really good.
5 seasons,
right?
Yeah,
five seasons or something. Like that. And she's a really solid actress. But I feel like in The Loved Ones, she just kind of wanders in from another film.
No, she's a debut, isn't it?
No, she had done another feature prior to this. Had done like a bit of tally, but she did do another feature. I can't recall. I think it was like a relationship comedy.
But she wasn't unknown, so you can't expect her to come and do.
No. I don't mean. I mean that her character just feels like it just wandered in from another film. Like up until her, like I feel like she's.
Sean, are you talking about The Loved Ones 2009 directed by Sean Byrne?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just double checking.
Where she's.
You can't see me doing this double take at the moment. Like what?
Her and her father both feel like they're these. Up until their introduction, the film is gritted. Is grounded in this kind of gritty realism. Like he's got this trauma of his dad, and he's turned a bit to drugs, and he's doing his own thing, and he's trying to find himself.
Well,
and
hang on. Before we do this, let's. I just want to read the synopsis
Okay,
because
it's probably wise.
we're covering some pretty cool plot points right there. So this is the official synopsis supplied by Madman that's on their DVD and whatnot. It says, after high schooler Brent Mitchell wraps his car around a tree, killing his father, he escapes into a marijuana-fueled world of heavy metal music to block the pain and guilt. Sounds like someone's grandmother wrote it. He's kept grounded by his beautiful and caring girlfriend, Holly, who's also his date for the upcoming school formal dance. As graduation approaches, Lola Stone, the weirdest girl in school, asks Brent to the dance, but is turned down. Hours before the dance and under the glittering light of a disco ball, Brent wakes up in a nightmarish sequence of events involving pink satin, glitter, syringes, nails, and power drills. Brent has become the prom king at a macabre, sadistic dance where he is the entertainment. I love that last line. Yeah. It's a really good synopsis. Like it is.
It is.
It really
and
captures the film.
it reminds me just... I didn't really draw the comparison until I heard you read that. There's that Lucky McKee film, May.
Oh, yeah.
May. I think May is a much stronger film.
No, I don't think so.
No,
you don't have to agree. Either agree.
Well, that's good because I do.
Yeah. There was a lot of hype for May, and I enjoyed it, but I don't know. I just never really liked Lucky McKee.
I did love May. Don't get me wrong.
I quite like The Woman,
and he kind of introduced this whole sort of John Hughes infusion with all cheerleaders must die and all that kind of stuff. So he's sort of responsible in a roundabout way for this kind of genre.
True. Mind you, that came after this.
No, the original. He remade it for the feature film. He did a feature film on Super 8, I think.
Yeah, it was back
and then
in the
remade
day,
it in the Hollywood way.
Okay, interesting.
That's what put him on the map of the original one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I think he kind of pioneered this crossbreed of movie. And I just drew that comparison when you read the synopsis there.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Okay, so back onto the attack there. Sean, what else? You were talking about Robin McLeavy's performance before.
Oh yeah. It seems up until the point where they show up, they're so obtusely weird. Like they're so self-consciously
Isn't
weird.
that the basis for so much horror with the rednecks in the cabins and the inbred families?
But I think that the difference for me is when you see those rednecks in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or you see the rednecks in The Hills Have Eyes, there's always that party. It's just like, how are they getting away with this? Oh, it's because they live in the middle of the desert. Like where I feel like this house
is as remote as the Chainsaw Massacre house.
Yeah, but and I'm also going to say, like, apart from Lola's interaction with Brent when she asked him to the dance and then spies, him getting some old sex, I think, in the car in the VW. You don't see Daddy until the house because no,
you don't.
So I haven't seen any more of Lola except for being an awkward girl at high school, which I've known plenty of girls that were like that.
How did they get away with this when it's not that remote? Well, how did Jeffrey Dahmer get away with it in his house? How did bloody Ed Gein get away with it?
I think they're subtly, awkward. I think
I don't think there's nothing subtle about them, and that's
when they're in their own house, sure, but that's different because they can do whatever they want.
Put a face
Why not?
on
But even
outside of that,
that's where the jam comes in for me. Is up until that point, there is a certain degree of nuance, with her, like she's very, almost dialogue less, and she just conveys it with looks and kind of her slunched shoulders and all that kind of stuff. But then as soon as you get into her house, it becomes this.
It's her comfort zone.
Pantomimic. Yeah. I just don't.
That's what
that ramped up self-conscious performance is what completely drew me out.
This is the typical trait of every serial killer. It's the guy next door that you never saw coming.
True. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that might have been a bit awkward and
just because I don't buy her performance. I don't buy how there's no nuance or subtlety. Everything's really cartoonish. That doesn't mean that it doesn't exist in real life. That doesn't mean that it can. But it's just for me watching the film where there's been so much heavy stuff going on up until now. Like the kid kills his own dad, and then all of a sudden it's like this kind of, I don't know, like really obnoxiously self-aware.
Flick the switch, though. It's like that. Yeah. That unassuming movie that just turns it on its head.
Totally. Yeah.
I don't buy it.
Well, since we've spoken about Robin's performance as Lola, we can probably move on from her. I personally thought she was fantastic. I think she's conveys a certain coldness, brutality. She's got crack wises, and then at the same time, I think there's a feminine quality about her that kind of makes her a little bit.
She's endearing.
Sexy as well.
Yeah, she's endearing. I mean, a chick with a drill, it's hot.
Yeah, there's something bizarre about it. We're dressed in pink satin.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about Xavier Samuel, who plays Brent, the lead in this film, and arguably, in my opinion, probably his best role.
I'd say so.
Done a lot of films since.
Well, let's quickly talk about some of those. He did Twilight.
Yes.
Fury.
That's right.
Healing. Yeah. He was in Bait.
Healing. I love Healing.
Healing's good.
I know the director of Healing.
Glenn's moving out to where they are where they shot the movie. It's set.
Yes, and a few best men. So just amongst others.
You failed to mention his all-time worst performance film, which is actually one of the because he's in those two, A Few Best Men, and
yes, he is.
And you downright hate the sequel.
I did a what the fuck was that micro podcast about the film.
Well, he's also been in possibly the worst Australian film ever made, Spin Out.
I just want to make
mention
I deliberately left that out.
Anytime is Spin Out. He was also in, obviously, Bait, and he was in a film called, I think it's called Road Train?
Yes.
Yeah, it's another Aussie horror. So
is that the one with David Argue?
Oh, I don't know.
I think it is. Now. It's about the killer truck.
The killer truck, yeah that's the one.
And they open the truck's bonnet, and it's all like organic, flesh and stuff.
Yeah.
That sounds gnarly.
It's not bad. It's
really?
It was like one of those films that I just stumbled on. I think I stumbled on an American Netflix. It was on another title, like Roadkill or something. And then I was like, what? This is an Aussie film. I've never heard of this. Anyway, Xavier Samuel's performance, I think, is exceptional because he doesn't have a lot of dialogue in the film.
Yeah, he's got to carry the lion's share.
He does, and it's all through expression.
Yeah.
He's dragged through the mud in this one.
And it's not just that, because the whole film only takes place over... I mean, it's not too far removed from real time.
Yeah,
right?
true.
But Xavier Sam... Well, I say that. Once he gets into the house, then it's almost in real time. He's got to get to like this fever pitch level of hysteria and then just maintain that for the rest of the film. Yeah. Where he's just got to that level of intensity. That would be exhausting.
Like imagine doing the pickups trying
to get back into that mode.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
and
he does really well.
You know, he's being there and he's being tortured, you know, within an inch of his life. But at the same time, there's that brooding look on him that, you know, you're going to get your comeuppance, and I'm going to be the one that's going to bring it. Yeah. You know, throughout it, just that look on his face, that menacing look that's you know, staring back at
the
them.
inevitable. Yeah.
He takes a licking, but he keeps on ticking. Anyway, moving on. John Brumpton. We couldn't talk about this film because we didn't talk about John Brumpton in this movie.
The Aussie staple.
If you're looking for a new Mac product, Emery Cell is the place for you. Don't throw your money away on stupidly expensive Apple gear when Emery Cell provides top-of-the-line, totally refurbished products across the Apple range. Whether you need a new iPhone, iMac, Mac Pro, iPad or other Apple products, visit Emery Cell. And if you're looking to sell your Apple gear for whatever reason, Emery Cell can offer a generous price with full data erasure, fast payment and free shipping. Visit Emery Cell's website to see for yourself. FakeShemp.net uses their products and they wouldn't steer you wrong. Visit emerycell.com.au.
Hey guys, don't forget to catch our other show, Franchised, where we cast our attention on movies and their sequels, prequels, spin-offs, and cash-ins.
That chase sequence around the living room?
That chase sequence around the living room was unreal.
It reminded me of that movie, The Garbage Pail Kids. Where
totally.
Yeah. You know what number one? Actually, I think I know what number one is.
What is number one?
I think it's Whitney Houston for The Bodyguard.
Oh, high five.
Tune into Franchised at fakeshemp.net. Heck, you could just Google fakeshemp.net podcast and prepare your ear holes for penetration.
We couldn't talk about this film because we didn't talk about John Brumpton in this movie.
The Aussie staple.
The character actor.
Yeah, look, I've been thinking, like, it's really hard for me to define what his best work is, but I think if I had to do, like, maybe 3 or 4, this would be amongst them, without a doubt.
Yeah,
but then, like, you know, you got Romper Stomper, Porno, which
Porno
we
more
did
recently,
and Storm Warning.
Storm Warning.
Yes,
yeah.
which there's a lot of comparisons to that film in this one.
Totally.
See, I think Storm Warning works much better.
Oh, that's another discussion.
It's a different podcast.
No, but I think there's similarity with the production design and the values and all that kind of stuff. But I think they're his best films, and I think this is wedged somewhere amongst all of those.
It's a very restrained performance because he does play a psychotic, deranged type of character.
Porno might be his best.
You know, I think Porno is his best because it was really his film.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just such a good performance because like he just wants to make his daughter happy.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a weird incest thing throughout the film. Like he's watching her change into the dress, and then they're doing, you know, that he's awarded the prom king, and they have their dance, and they're about to kiss.
And he's dropping the
glitter
on them, like, and he's perfectly happy to do it
he's
as well.
Watching,
I love that stuff so much.
Lola takes Brent's penis out, and you know he's just sort of watching on, and it's it's really uncomfortable, but. Yeah, like I just love his performance in it because
he is way more restrained than she is,
isn't he?
But that's required. That's totally required for the character juxtaposition there.
Yeah.
So now we've just talked about the glitter and whatnot. The production design of the film, like it's a standout. Like the cinematography, production design, costuming.
The cinematography.
It's one of the things that I think takes it up a notch over most Australian films. This film looks like it's on a much bigger budget than what it was. I think it was like about 4 mil.
Massive bang for buck.
It just looks phenomenal. So many Aussie films I'm used to seeing in this day and age that look like they're shot for TV, and you go and see it in the cinema, and you're like, where's the distinction between what's cinematic and what's really just a made-for-TV movie? Yeah. This is pure cinema.
Without a doubt. You know what one it reminded me of? There's another Australian film which got my Glenn Award with the Fake Shemp Awards, which Girl Asleep.
Oh,
yeah.
I absolutely thought that too when I was rewatching it recently. I was like, wow.
It's like it's a minimalist film in its production value. Like it's just whatever we can get our hands on at op shops and let's make it look good.
Yeah.
And it ends up looking fantastical.
It's very colourful
and non-realistic. Like really, really.
It's both films are very vibrant sort of films.
Yes.
Yeah, they're kind of dark, but they're and they've got that fantasy element.
Girl
about them.
Asleep has a history where it comes from a children's theatre background. And you kind of feel like even The Loved Ones could have come from a children's theatre background and they've just sort of put it into this adult world.
True.
So very similar productions. And then Storm Warning. Like it's a very similar one set location kind of piece, where it's all closed in and same kind of family, I suppose.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I want to make a special mention to that mirror ball. It's mentioned in the synopsis, but it's a fucking amazing touch because that mirror ball adds like a texture to everything in the film, where it's the faces,
everything it touches,
the surfaces. It's like you could look at the image and go, geez, that's really well composed and it's beautifully shot, but just having that just adds this extra layer to it.
It's
and
filling the void.
Fantasy
it
element
fills the void,
too.
yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And it keeps you feeling like you really are trapped in that one environment, that entire time.
Absolutely.
In that small space, their living room, kitchen.
I mean, the key to any production design when you're doing independent filmmaking is to just crowd the scene, like never have a blank piece of wall, like always have something that's distracting the viewer's eye, and that mirror ball is constantly moving. So your eyes are sort of all over the place.
It's very psychedelic.
Yeah.
Range of music in the film that's really carefully curated to drive the plot. You got the acoustic teenage heartbreak anthem that opens it, and then you got like aggressive sort of metalcore Parkway Drive on the soundtrack. And who would have thought that Casey Chambers, not pretty enough?
I'm not pretty enough.
Would it become such a chilling fucking song?
Would become,
she wants to play it at her wedding.
Would become
what, her dad?
The perfect song for this film.
So good.
Yeah,
and it pops up a few times through it.
I know. I will never listen to it the same way again.
Never. Now you mentioned this earlier, Sean, is the sound design and the score. The score itself is done by Ollie Olsen, who was in a lot of post-punk bands throughout the late 70s into the late 80s. He was in a band with Michael Hutchins. Max Q. But the sound design on it, jeez, it's
the sound
phenomenal.
design particularly, is really standout stuff.
I concur.
Excellent. Well, I think we've talked enough about
moving on.
enough about the style of the film. But now you did mention that you felt like it was like the last 20 minutes of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre dragged out. In my opinion, though, this film's relatively short. It's only about 80 odd minutes.
Not even. I think it's
clocks
short. Yeah, I think it clocks in at 75 minutes.
It's a cracking pace. And I mean, within the first 10 minutes, you cover a lot of ground. You establish most of the major players. And their motives harks back to what to come, because you have that car crash at the start and you see the first victim. So it's almost like this destination or destiny moment sort of thing. Yeah, that things are going to end up where they started. You've got like lots of themes: parental bonds, tragedy, mateship, love, sex, jealousy, anger, more. Sex, in fact, you've got sex in a VW, which, according to Moratz, is probably one of the most uncomfortable places you could have sex.
I know.
That would have been a logistical nightmare shooting that scene. Like, I don't know how they did it. They must have had a Malcolm car split in half to set up cameras.
Yeah, David Parker came on set for the day.
Those two were awesome. The goth girl and the best pal.
Yeah, totally.
They were unreal. Really good. I mean, outside of being really good players, really good dynamic between them. Particularly him. I thought he was dynamite.
It's incredible. One of the things I sort of noticed this time around, like I've seen the film 3 times, recently rewatched it with a commentary track, but there were little things that maybe I didn't pick up the first time, or maybe I did know the first time and now watching it a number of years later. But like, it's quite a clever plot, because you got that boy walking along the road at the start. He turns out to be the boy that's in the photograph that's in the scrapbook, who turns out to be the brother of the girl that's dating the friend.
Tight.
And it's really cool. Plotting, it's really, sort of well woven.
Yeah,
sort of
there's
story.
no loose ends.
No,
there's no fat on it whatsoever.
Now, themes in the films, guys. Like, I mean, there's a lot of themes, but I guess the biggest one's trauma. There's a massive trauma he's gone through at the start. He's behind the wheel, kills his old man. Doesn't, inadvertently kills his old man in an accident. His mother blames him for it, so he's kind of living with that blame. He's a self-mutilator, so he's dealing with the pain in that sort of way. He can't really express his feelings toward his girlfriend. He writes on the card that she reads it later.
Trauma is one of the things that really came to mind when I'm watching it, but you're right.
But it takes the trauma of actually going through all those events in the films for him to appreciate those people around him as well, because there's a montage where he's being tortured and he's about to die pretty much, and he sees all the people in his life that he loves and what they mean to him.
It's the foundation of his resilience,
and then he finds the will to live again. So like, he's come through it on the other side, and you're like, geez, maybe he's going to be all right. But I mean, he's pretty fucked up to begin with, but he goes through a whole lot more.
Yeah.
So it kind of teaches him the value of life. Is there any themes off the top of your head? I mean, you just said that one didn't come to mind, but any...
It didn't, but it
Stick
does when you
out?
say it that way. Once again, it's not a film that I've really dissected. I've seen it only twice. One was, way back when it came out, and then I guess I watched it probably about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I should watch it more. Like,
I know. I feel like after watching it this time, I felt like, God, I need to watch this film more.
Because
it's so
it had
short,
that
and it's
impact
such a
on me.
Great film.
Had that impact on me both times.
Exactly, yeah. I think all 3 times. Even the last time I watched it was with the commentary track, but I'd sometimes not be listening to what Sean was saying because I'd just be like kind of watching the film again.
That's not me.
No, Sean Byrne, the director, writer-director Sean.
Nothing me.
No, Sean wasn't talking over the film while he watched it. I was like, shut up, Sean, this is what you hate the film.
Yeah, imagine that commentary.
That'd be a great commentary. Maybe that'll be on the anniversary edition.
I always thought that love was the big thing. Was the big theme for me.
Obsession.
Trauma, love, obsession.
Yeah.
There's, his love for his dad that he can't let go of. There's, the
Daddy's love for Lola.
Yes.
Daddy's love for Lola. Yeah. Lola's love for God, what's his name?
Well, let's
The
call him
kids.
Xavier.
Yeah, Xavier.
Brent,
Simons.
yeah.
Brent,
Yeah.
There's the want of love between the best pal and the goth girl.
Yeah.
There's the love of the goth girl's parents to her. Like, it's just
what's the name of the film?
the loved ones.
Yeah, that's right.
it's
Makes
probably-
sense.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a
Plural.
fucking whoa.
Yeah.
Mind blown.
Yeah, but it's. I mean, like those are all those relationships and their dynamics are really
Yeah.
clearly played in a exceptionally efficient way as well.
You have probably brought up a very, very good point there because, as I said, like the loved ones, and that is referring to every character in the film.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, even my trauma thing, I was bringing love into it, but clearly love is the overpowering.
yeah, the
theme
guy
of
that
entire film.
fucking hates the film is the one that really taps into it.
yeah, he's
No. I want to be clear. I want to be clear. It's not that I hate it by any
Loathes-
stretch.
no
loathes
Karate Kid
Yeah,
3.
It's no the next Karate
Next
Kid.
Karate Kid.
It's not that I don't hate it by any stretch. I think it is largely overrated, but it's certainly it's better than most Australian stuff that comes out. Genre stuff. I think in that regard.
Except for Storm Warning, right?
Except for Storm Warning.
Storm Warning's a very underrated film.
It is,
Yeah,
it is.
very underrated.
Everett Darosh.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Jamie Blank's directing.
Yes, that's
yeah.
right.
I love Jamie Blanks.
All right, gents. So, favorite scenes from the film? Like, do I need to give you a minute to think about it and I'll talk about my favorite scene? Or can I
go
just
for
throw
it.
to you?
No, go for it. You talk.
Okay.
Oh, don't talk for me.
What about Glenn? Just,
Oh no, me.
Yeah, like I'm not important.
My favourite scene's when Brent's tied to the chair and he requests to go to the bathroom. It's a clearly sort of like a thinly veiled plan to escape. They see through it. Subsequently, Lola sculls a pint of milk and then takes out Brent's schlong, puts it in the glass and, says, go for it sort of thing. He can't go. Daddy gets the old hammer out and threatens to nail it to the chair. And suddenly it gets a bit of squirtage going and he's crying. Oh, it's crying. It's crying. And I'm just like, oh, it's such a fucking awkward and uncomfortable moment. And then she's like, maybe, I should kiss it. And then immediately snaps and turns into that, that horrible character of, or I could bite it off. So your girlfriend can't ever, It's just a really fucking intense moment. It's
Yeah.
terrifying.
Do you know
Plays
what
with
I-
a great fear.
Do you know what I love about that story? He delivered that so conservatively, right? And then he goes, "It's such a fucking awful
Yeah,
scene."
I
Right?
know.
I never said the words cock. I never said piss. I don't think I said piss. I might have said urinate. I said schlong.
It's a great scene. That's
such an intense
That's
scene.
probably one of the best scenes in the film. And
Yeah.
obviously, the drill scene is just.
Oh, it's killer. And then it's just like, I need make the hole bigger. I need it bigger. And you're like, oh my god, Jesus.
Yeah, that's mine because I love
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
What about you? Surely another favourite scene would be the bit where where they're throwing rocks at him in the tree and he falls out of the
Oh,
tree, hits the
on the
Kingswood.
car, the car.
It's funny, but it's awful. And when the
It's-
body makes that impact, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you kind of laugh. At the same
Forgot
time.
all about that. Yes,
It's a great scene.
Great stunt. Yeah.
Yeah,
Great
yeah.
scene.
No, the drill scene
On the
Yeah.
Kingswood, I think. Too.
Oh, the nailing the feet. It's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Was it the feet? Yeah.
Well, yeah, the
Steak-
knives,
steak knives.
steak
Knives,
knives,
yeah.
yeah, because then he uses that to kill Daddy. Stabs him in the neck about 9 times.
Oh,
It's brutal. Like it's such a brutal film.
When he catches the drill across his face,
Yeah.
and pulls that big sliver of
It's
skin
so
off of his
good.
face,
Like the
yeah.
actual makeup effects in this film look
They're
phenomenal.
very good.
Really,
Well,
really
but,
good.
Speaking of that brutality, it was originally rated R.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure you've got that in your notes.
No,
there.
I didn't.
Okay,
but I was just
yeah.
going to mention it.
But
funnily
they,
enough.
but they dropped it to MA based
Yeah.
on the comedic
They
element.
appealed. They
Yeah.
appealed to get it. And I mean, that's
Really?
a smart decision.
The comedy is
because-
what saved them.
Wow.
Yeah. Because otherwise, I mean, how many, you cut like such a massive part of the audience out when it goes for an R.
It is deserving of an R rating.
Oh, undoubtedly.
Yeah.
It is super. It is honestly like Cat Sick Blues. It getting an MA and not an R is mind-blowing.
Yep.
Like those two films are
That
fairly
just
brutal
boggles
films.
my mind that got an MA.
It is, and I mean, like Cat Sick Blues. Yes, it's got a dark humor about it, and I think the second time and third time you watch it, you find it funnier and funnier. But the very first time, I found it very traumatic and
Deplorable.
shocking.
It's deplorable.
Yeah, I came out of it and I'd said to Glenn, "Nah, I did not enjoy it. I thought it was way too much. It was fucking making me feel very."
Meanwhile, I
uneasy."
just jizzed my pants.
He was loving it, and then when I watched it the second time, I was like, "Nah, it was fucking great. It was really."
Oh, really?
fun.
I didn't know you'd come around on that
I know
one.
you really liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very similar. I know, not really in the same league in my opinion as these two films, but I quite like it. Is Hostel. I hated it the first time I saw it in the cinemas. I absolutely hated it.
Yeah, I was the same.
Second time, watched it 5 years later. I thought it was hysterical.
it was Hostel 2 that turned
Really
me around
funny.
on that.
And
'cause that was a phenomenal film.
Hostel 2 is a fantastic
Yeah,
sequel.
yeah.
Fantastic. And again, very funny. I think I knew where to come from watching that. Like, what
Hang on.
I was ready for humour.
Watch your syllables there.
Well, watch out. He's crying.
I think my favorite sequence is when the best friend shows up to the girl for the date with the flowers.
Yeah, right.
Because I think their relationship is
Reeking of
really,
weed as well, and the father's a cop.
Yeah, reeking of weed, and the dad shows up, and your heart stops for this poor kid.
Yeah.
And he's like, those roses, I couldn't find them in black. I'm like, yeah, good, nice. She shows up basically wearing her nightie, and
Yeah.
she's like, are we going or what? And I'm like, I know where this is going to go. And then every time those two show up on screen after that,
It's great. It's magic.
Yeah, I think it's the chemistry between those two is unreal.
Yeah, it's really
those were the highlights for me.
Well,
She falls out of the car when they get to the prom, and he has to run around to his sisters. They've just been smoking joints in the car, listening to metal.
I smell a spin-off.
No, it's, right. I really enjoyed it. I
This
thought
is like that the fucking Harold and Lloyd or whatever.
Oh, Harold and
Out of
Kumar?
control. No.
Oh, no, like the Get Smart spin-off made
Cycle.
for DVD movie.
Cycle.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a digression and a half.
Well, now I think we should digress. Sean Byrne mentions on the commentary track his love of teen films. Those are John Hughes, obviously, but he also mentions that Richard Linklater's Dazed and Confused is his favourite teen film of all time, which I fucking love. And Glenn's a massive fan of the spiritual sequel.
Yeah.
Everybody wants some. It was like your number one
That was
film
your
a couple
number one
years
film,
back.
wasn't it?
Absolutely. I've watched that about 7 times.
Have you really?
I have, yeah.
Do you know, I
It's
still
great-
haven't
yeah,
seen
it's
it.
a solid
It's
film.
I've got it sitting
amazing.
there. I haven't watched
It gets
yet.
better every time too.
It's a
Really?
solid film.
You pick
yeah.
up on all the little things you never picked up on before every time you watch it.
Got to watch it.
I gotta
yeah.
watch it. Yeah.
So on that note, I was going to ask you, lads, what would be your favourite teen film?
Oh my
You know, it
god,
doesn't-
man!
Well, yeah,
I
I'll
know
give you
what
one, and you can
I
have an
know what
honourable
mine-
mention.
Wait, does it have to be? Is it any teen film?
Any teen film.
Holy
any,
shit.
I know
any
exactly what
decade,
mine is.
anything. Can be
Scre-
serious, could be comical, could be anything.
Scream,
Scream. Yeah. okay.
hands down.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Oh my
Scream
God, that-
changed everything for me.
Well,
Yeah.
that changes.
I went
how
to school to see Scream.
That changes how I'm coming into
It's
this.
a real teen sort of thing to do.
Because I just had teen comedy in mind when you said it.
But yeah, well, yeah.
It's kind of a comedy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Instinct says Ferris Bueller.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
just because
a
I know it
classic.
back to
Do
front.
you know I didn't see Ferris Bueller till I was about 20?
Really?
Well,
Yeah,
how
I
did
swear to
you,
God.
what did you think of it when you saw it? Like, was it?
I loved
something-
it.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah,
well
yeah,
and
I
truly
loved it.
worn my VHS down by that time.
Totally.
Never seen it. I
Yeah.
watched it with my first girlfriend.
9 times.
Yeah. Watched it with my first girlfriend. I'm like, how have I never seen this?
I don't know, because it's always on TV. Like, it was
Yeah.
on TV
And
for
that
about
movie's-
10 years.
that-
Like, throughout the
Pure-
90s, it was seemingly always on a Friday night.
That movie features
Maybe you had a
Hollywood,
life.
Hollywood pedophile, and like the loved ones has the father figure. Like there's
Yeah.
no.
Which one?
Is it
Jeffrey Jones.
Jeffrey Jones, yeah.
Was he?
Oh yeah, hell yeah. Have you not noticed he's not in any movies anymore?
I swear to God, I had no idea.
Yeah, he's a big sex pest.
Oh, because
Yeah.
he was in Ravenous as well, wasn't he?
Yes, and he was in
When-
bloody Beetlejuice, and
Yeah.
he was a fantastic character actor.
Wow.
Yeah,
I swear blind. Every time I get,
Sweeney
how
Todd?
come every time I got on a podcast with
He's
you
got
two-
a shock, yeah.
Yeah, I get a
sure.
shot. Last time I found out about the
Alison
sex
Mack?
cult, Alison Mack's sex cult. How come you guys are just like?
how come we're all over it, Jared?
I know, that's what I want to know.
know
How
so
come-
much.
Every time I show up, you guys are like, no, here's another sex pest for you.
Can you
Yeah.
pass the Vaseline?
All right, my favourite teen film, Pretty in Pink.
Oh,
Written by
good one.
John Hughes. Great cast. I mean, it's got Molly Ringwald, Andrew McCarthy, John Cryer, James Spader, Harry Dean Stanton, Annie Potts, and even Andrew Dice Clay, who pops up in a bit
heartbreaking
part.
film.
It is
It's savage. I know.
every time I watch. I've seen this film a million times. Tell you what, it's actually showing at the Astor on Sunday. I'm thinking about going. But every time I watch it, I obviously I know the way this film's going to go. But every time I just hope that maybe Ducky gets a look in and he'll get that dance and they'll get together. You know, I like Andrew McCarthy and I like his character, but I really love Ducky.
Oh, Ducky.
You know.
For
I love
the
John
win.
Cryer
Yeah.
outside of 2.5 Men.
And they remade
You know.
that film as Some Kind of Wonderful.
It's true, actually.
True,
Yeah.
yeah.
What
would your
great soundtrack
honorable
too.
mention be then?
Cameron Crowe Say Anything.
Good
Love
answer.
Say Anything.
He's
I
thought
love
about this
Say
before.
Anything.
He has
Beforehand,
thought
though.
about
That's
yeah
the
that answer. I the
bastard,
drop
man.
I had.
I could probably name my top 5. Then
Yeah,
Fast
because
Times
you
at
thought
Ridgemont
about
High
it.
at number 3. No, this is just off the top of my head. Yeah,
That's in there.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What would your honorable
Infinitely.
mentions be?
Shit, I haven't had time to really compile this in my
Not
head.
another teen movie.
Fuck off.
I love that movie. I do really love that movie. I think
can't
it's
tell if you're
hilarious.
serious or not.
No, it's
Really?
hilarious.
Really?
Yeah, I really think it's a great. It's just a weird kind of. It's like, you know, it came at that time when there was all of these.
Saturation.
Yeah, those type of films,
It's
you know,
spawned a
parody
lot of
movies.
talent.
But most of the
Yeah.
parodies it was doing was of 80s teen films, which I thought would kind
And
of
hey,
be
this
lost
was
on
the
us,
arrival of
you
the
know?
new breed of slapstick directors that took over from the Zuckers.
Yeah,
you know.
totally.
Yeah.
And now you've mentioned that time frame. I think Varsity Blues is up there for me.
Varsity Blues.
I don't know if
Really?
I've ever seen it.
I love Varsity Blues.
I feel like I
Didn't-
might have seen it.
Did John
Vanderbeek?
Voight get an Oscar nom for that?
I don't believe so.
He should have. He's phenomenal in that film.
What about James Vanderbeek, though? How was the beak?
He's
That was the
alright.
beak.
Yeah.
He's all right.
Yeah.
It was his,
that was his big, like...
that was his big step
Hey,
away
yeah.
from
And
Dawson's Puddle.
Amy
Yeah.
Smart was in it, and she was in Non-Teen Movie.
Wow, there you go.
Or was she? No, she wasn't.
was in
They
Road Trip.
parody it. They parody
They
it
do,
with
they
the
do.
whipped cream. Ah,
Yeah,
that's,
that's
what I'm
what it
thinking.
is.
They do indeed. All right, well, so that was pretty much a digression. I don't really have...
It's like,
What is it? You got any more honorable mentions? You didn't do an honorable mention?
Carrie?
No, I didn't.
Carrie?
Honorable mention.
Yeah, good pick. And that kind of ties in well with this.
Hell yes.
Rumblefish.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow,
right.
yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. Okay. Yeah, all right. I feel like I probably should have chosen
Rusty.
something that's like... Oh, maybe...
Rusty James. I love Rumblefish.
Blackboard Jungle. Let's be cinephiles now.
Yeah, totally.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no.
Is that
High
John-
School High?
No, that wasn't John Huston. That was Asphalt Jungle.
High School High with John Lovitz.
John Lovitz.
Oh
Also
my
featuring
God.
the Quad City DJs. Come on, ride the train. It's the choo-choo ride it.
Good. Good.
From the
You know,
mid-90s.
High School High. That was a Pat Proft written film. That is an undervalued film.
It's
that one.
totally undervalued.
Firstly, when he lifts her skirt and tries to fuck her and says, "Oh my God, you're a virgin," and she just had her panties on. Like, he forgot to take her panties off. But when when the DJ starts scratching and he
Yeah.
goes and takes his record up and it's Rhinestone Cowboy. Oh my God, that's fucking great.
Priceless.
He goes,
Substitute-
"I'm a
substitute?
rhinestone."
I remember
Yeah,
that.
so good.
But
So
the turn he does in the crowd, because he walks off really proud as punch that he
Yeah.
gave him this new vinyl. When he hears the scratch, he does a beeline back to the bloody
yeah,
turntable.
yeah, because it's like his prized record. Oh, it's a classic. All right, so we can move on from the slight digression of
Sure.
teen films.
Big digression.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so, this is part where I traditionally wrap it up, but before I do that, I always talk about the best available version of the film out there.
Why don't you?
And you can't go past the Australian Blu-ray. It is the definitive version of the film worldwide. It's got a commentary track by Sean Byrne, a very informative and engaging, and he's a very likable kind of character. Like, I've never met Sean, ever. But, listening to him just sounds like a mate. And, he's quite honest about his influences, and he's quite gracious of everyone that worked on the film, and will, give them kudos. Terrific commentary track. It's actually got a couple of his short films, 2 of his shorts on there.
Cool.
And one of them, which I think was called Advantage Satan, is a phenomenal short. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely watch it. When you watch a short like that, you can see so much potential in this director. I mean, obviously with Loved Ones, but this is a guy that should be making a lot more films. Like, the next film the guy went on to make was
The Devil's
Devil's
Candy.
Candy, which was like 5-6 years later.
2015.
Yeah.
It's a long stretch, and I mean, it was written and directed by him as well. I didn't love The Devil's Candy. I think there's some solid ideas in there, but again, he was working.
It's that
There was-
whole leaping into the American market type
Exactly.
of thing.
There's a lot more people in there that interfere with the project.
It was what happened with Jeffrey Wright when he went and did Cherry Falls.
Yeah,
Of
course.
Cherry
which
Falls.
is good in hindsight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But underwhelming when he's gone straight from Metal Skin and Romper Stomper.
totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Same thing that happened.
Cherry Falls was really good.
It is.
It
When
was
you look
good,
back
and
on it,
it-
yeah.
that's
Particularly, I mean, particularly sad, obviously, given the Britney's death. But Cherry Falls was even back in the day.
It was the most brutal of all those slashes.
Yeah, and it was dropped. I think it was Rockville Film, wasn't it? That dropped it.
Could have been
Something like that. It was
No,
a
it was
really
Magna Pacific. I think.
Magna
Yeah,
Pacific.
it was a no-namer that got locally, an indie. Yeah.
And it knocked me. I'm like, how did
great.
this bypass
Jay
everything?
Moore?
Yeah.
And
Jay Moore?
arguably Jay Moore at the height
Rock
of when he
Bane.
was popular.
Yeah.
It cashed in on the teen slasher, but it really
It
upped
did a
the
good
ante.
job. Like
Upped the
a
ante.
solid job.
Great cinematography.
The massacre
as
scene
well.
is just...
The
Oh.
interesting thing about that film, because there's a great Blu-ray that's come out through and you know what's really weird? I actually looked at Cherry Falls for this episode, but realized I think it was like 1999, or it was on the cusp or something.
And you go
I was
by
like,
decade.
Yeah, and I was like, oh no, it's just missed it.
Yeah, because
is
that would
how
have been
much-
working at Blockbuster at the time. So it would have
When
been
that one
99,
came
2000, yeah.
Yeah, the studio interference that
Yeah.
comes up on the commentary track with Jeffrey Wright. How much studio interference it was, because they wanted an R-rated film to begin with. They wanted an R-rated grisly horror, and then as the film was, I think it was in the still production before they got to the edit, had gone no, it has to be. We have to get it, bring it down, bring the rating down. And they've cut elements and a lot of the materials, which is bizarre because it's not that long ago, no longer exists. So there's like scenes that were shot that they can't put on a DVD because they
Wow.
can't find the materials.
That's
Which is
just-
weird because it's in an era when that stuff really didn't get lost.
Yeah,
But he
yeah,
flirted,
right.
He
yeah,
flirted
generally-
with the tropes the way that Wes Craven did in Scream. Like he
did,
The
yeah.
whole concept of it is the
Yeah.
trope of the virgin that dies.
Yeah, exactly.
cool film.
The,
Yeah.
the red herrings and it was Cherry Falls is underrated.
Very cool
Yeah.
film. Another digression in the wrap up.
Yeah.
The Blu-ray, it's also got like a Q&A from Toronto. It's got some... Actually, no, yes. It has got a featurette that's made by my mate Tommy,
Oh,
who
wow.
was the runner on the film. It's called My Super Awesome Featurette or Runner's Story or something like that, which is... It's really cool because like I remember when it came out on Blu-ray and Tommy saying, oh, I've got a special feature that's going to be on. I was like, oh, my friend's done a special feature on a disc. That's awesome. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like told through his eyes. This is the experience. And it's pretty fun. So
Cool.
it's a pretty cool little thing. Another interesting note, though, is the film was released, played MIF in 2009, played a bunch of festivals. Didn't come out in Australia till like late 2010. I think it was like pretty much like November 2010.
It was pretty
So
late from what I remember.
It was a long...
yeah.
I mean, that generally happens with a lot of Aussie films that play, Aussie festivals. But the weirdest thing was, it got a DVD release in the UK a month before, so it was already being torrented and pirated before it opened in Australian cinemas. But then the US, Paramount picked it up for US distribution. They released it like 3 years later. They released it like in the summer of 2012 in limited release, but they released it in summer, which is odd because like it's not typically a summer film. Maybe you do it around October in the Halloween horror season. They did it in the summer of 2012, but so many years later, it just baffled me as to why. And
Yeah.
again,
That is really
piracy was
bizarre.
very rampant at that point in time. So
And it's a really good Halloween film.
totally,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, I've seen people dress up
Yeah.
in cosplay.
And it would suit because I think that around that time of the year would be coming up to prom in the States. So you
Yeah,
could tie
you
it
begin
in with
to the
that
end.
sort
Yeah,
of
you
thing,
begin
but-
to the end of
I
the
mean, the
season.
fact that Australia doesn't really even have proms, it's very... It appeals to that American market, big time.
Yeah, very unusual decision to delay the release for so long. But yeah, that really brings us to the end of the podcast. Have you guys got anything further to add?
What would be, I mean, horror-wise, what do you reckon would be other films to check out like it? It's easy to say Pretty in Pink and all that. Like they're the easy, obvious ones. Yeah,
Well,
but-
the one I mentioned earlier, although the humour, it's very much more of an obvious type comedy, but it does do the switcheroony really well. Is that The Babysitter, the Mick G film that was on Netflix globally?
Oh,
Such
yeah,
a great
this,
movie.
Because it's got it. Yeah, it's way more over the top, and it's definitely going for more a comical angle. But that's probably what I draw a comparison to.
Jennifer's
Yeah, right.
Body, maybe, even though
Yeah.
it's supernatural and all
It's
that.
very confused.
vibe
Jennifer's
as
it has
well,
the
Body,
same
isn't it?
feel, yeah.
We did a
We did a whole podcast about it, yeah. Like, I like it, but it's a confused film. It doesn't sort of know what it wants to be. It kind
Jennifer's Body?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
But
mess.
we've already
Hints at
mentioned them.
things.
All Cheerleaders Must Die, May, Carrie, like they're good comparisons, I suppose.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Awkward Girl horror films, yeah. I guess there's a whole entire subgenre of those
Yeah,
films.
totally.
All right, well, that said, I just want to shout out to the Screaming Meanies who perform our intro and outro music. Thank you very much, Screaming Meanies, for that. And guys, until next time, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Adios.